being recorded by the host or a participant. Zoom meeting.
It's really quiet in here now.
Yes.
Anticipation.
Yeah, exactly, Wayne. You got it.
So who's got the tap dancing routine ready to go? Just entertain a few folks.
People are still waking up in Canada, at least. I know Raj is probably ready for bed almost.
Well, Sean, I think that would be good if you can have some music or something you want to play. Or you wanted to sing something.
Well, Wayne was singing for us earlier.
And I did a tap dance too.
Yes, it was very entertaining.
And we have Nico coming in. Somewhere between the waiting room and here.
Good day, good day. Welcome.
Hello, Nico. Thank you for joining us.
Good day. How are you?
I believe Nico is muted, but the transcription bar is in the way. I can't see that portion of the screen. And Walter coming in.
Good morning, Walter. How are you?
Morning, everyone.
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining.
Oh, my pleasure.
Want to get everybody renamed there, Sean, please?
Thank you for the reminder there, Melanie. Nico and Walter, we are asking people to rename themselves with their location as well.
Where are you zooming in from? Okay, Sean.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome from all over the globe to Gaining Vision presents Exploring the Possibilities with Inclusion. My name is Sean Pickard, and I will be guiding everyone through the odyssey of experiences we have for you today. This is to provide you with as close as possible to the lived experience as we can do digitally. We will cover things we all do on a daily basis, the activities of daily living, if you will, which can take a little more time for some, things like getting to and from work, or even worse, a job interview. We even have a trigger warning for one of them, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't want to give away too much, and I hope you brought a blindfold. Before we go too far here, ladies and gentlemen, I must remind everyone of some Zoom etiquette. Please keep your microphone muted through the presentations. Our presenters will ask everyone to unmute your mic if it is required for the experience. We do ask that you use the raise hand button in the Zoom taskbar when we get to the question portion of the experiences. And please join fully in the experiences if you are able. Ladies and gentlemen, passionate, advocate, powerful sister friend, words that describe the essence of Melanie Taddeo-Nxumalo. Daughter, wife, educator, resilient entrepreneur, author to complete the image. She is a strong leader on accessibility and inclusion. With her personal and professional experiences, Melanie has overcome many barriers which led her to share her story and start her own business, which in turn inspires others to embrace their abilities. Melanie's mission is to help others understand and embrace the importance of inclusion and how it impacts us all. Today, Melanie will share her story of resilience and introduce Gaining Vision 2020. Please help me welcome the multifaceted go-getter, powerful leader, much-loved educator, Melanie Taddeo-Nxumalo.
Good day, everyone, and thank you so much for joining Gaining Vision Presents. exploring the possibilities with inclusion. I am thrilled to be here with you, and I want to know who's in the room. So I'd like you to take a minute. I know you've renamed yourselves already with where you're zooming in from, but just do a quick introduction in the chat so I can hear a little bit about who I am in company with today. Give everybody a minute for that, Sean.
I'm keeping an eye on the chat. I think we got a bunch of slow typers here today, Melanie. I know they got to be faster than me. I mean, come on.
Well, you know, Sean, it is early here in Canada, and other people may have had a long day depending on where they're zooming in from.
This is true. We have a number of people from the GTA, and we have someone from Port Elgin up on Lake Huron.
Ooh. Excellent. Well, welcome to everyone. Today, I would like to celebrate the launching of GainingVision along with you. Exploring the possibilities with inclusion means so much to so many different people, but the first step is to get to know one another. And so I thought I'd start off by introducing myself for those of you that may not know. At the age of 21, I suffered a debilitating stroke, but it's okay. I'm all right now. You see, I'm paralyzed on the left side, so I'm all right now. Thanks for laughing. I'm also blind and can't see your polite yet awkward smiles. Growing up, I was that little girl that used to put all her stuffed animals at the front of her bedroom and teach them the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Everything I had done in preparation in life was to be a teacher. So when I suffered that stroke, my life was turned upside down. Everybody kept saying, it's okay, you're disabled. You don't have to worry. You can stay home. I thought they were crazy. Stay home? I have so many dreams I want to accomplish in life. My family always told me that I was stubborn. I personally like to say determined. It sounds a lot nicer, don't you think? For me, this meant working hard. I had to learn to walk again, talk again, and gain my independence. After that was accomplished, I needed to learn how to navigate my life as a blind woman. This was not an easy feat, and I faced many barriers. So I did what any rational woman in my position would do. I applied to Teachers College. Yes, that stubbornness or determined, I like to think of it as resilience. Applied, and my interview went like this. How are you going to do this with your disability? And how are you going to do that with your disability? I finally asked the interviewer, I thought this interview was about my abilities and not my disability. She said, oh. Despite that uncomfortable interview, I was accepted. And after facing many barriers throughout Teachers College, I graduated at the top of my class as the first legally blind teacher to graduate in Ontario. This was a huge success and accomplishment, and I was thrilled until no one would hire me. My first taste of barriers, myths, misconceptions, all of these biases and barriers scared me at first, but it also motivated me to think outside of the box. And I started Connect for Life charity that helps individuals with disabilities access education and training programs to help them reach their goals and dreams as well, so they don't have to face the same barriers I did. Been running for over 8 years with great success, and we've helped hundreds of people. But the one thing I noticed time and time again is that they too face barriers of employment. I've done a lot of workshops, seminars, and conversations with employers, not just here in Canada, but across the globe, understanding that this was a global issue. People with disabilities were seen for their disability and not their abilities. So I decided to start GainingVision 2020 to help employers, businesses, organizations, and schools embrace inclusion so that we can change the narrative. And I am excited to be celebrating and exploring the possibilities with inclusion with all of you today. But I couldn't do it alone. Oh no, I have an incredible team working with me at GainingVision. I'm just going to acknowledge them slightly here. Please raise your hand, we'll do a wave, the salute, whatever you'd like, guys, because I couldn't do it without them. And you will meet them throughout today's session. Sean, Mark, Wayne, Laura, Arlene, Paige, Gerda, and Liz, who cannot join us today. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, team. Couldn't do it without you. But Sean, I'm curious, who's in our audience? Give me a few names. Let's hear a bit about them.
Oh, we've got a number of people, such as Raj is here. Arlene is here. Who else do I see here? Someone just came in. Jennifer just came in.
Wonderful, welcome.
We have
Thank
Matt.
you.
So incredible to see people from around the globe here. I truly appreciate your company. And before I move forward, I'm going to call on Laura for a little share, please.
Good morning. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I started working with Melanie back in September, and I have been blessed to be included in this GainingVision 2020 launch. When I read Melanie's book, I can see this. Can I put it up? Oh, no, can't see it. Anyway, yeah, no, sorry. I tried to show it. But when I read her book, My Unforeseen Journey, Losing Sight, Gaining Vision, I felt an instant connection with her and to all of her vision for inclusion for all. Here's a small excerpt from her book, which I believe captures the drive for Melanie to succeed to help others. So chapter 22, abilities. It is so important for each of us to realize what we are capable of, to embrace our talents, to develop them to their full potential. Before this life shift, I was focused on my disabilities and what I could not do. The ripple effect of this spread to everyone around me. Was I going to qualify for the government's definition of disabled? Is this what I really wanted, this label? Did I want it so that I'd be taken care of? A bit of security, maybe, but no, really, I was screaming inside. I am more than my disabilities. For a time, I lost myself being so fixated. I was the blind and paralyzed girl instead of the girl who happened to be blind or paralyzed. This is just a sample of the passion Melanie brings to the field of inclusion. Having a lived experience qualifies her as an expert along with her well put together team. Back to you, Melanie.
Thanks, Laura, so much for sharing. I'm excited to set the stage of what's to come. As I mentioned, we're going to explore the possibilities with inclusion together. So that means this is an opportunity for us to collaborate, to interact with one another. So I want this to be a fully immersive experience for you. So please participate and make sure that you use the chat, raise the button for your hand up if you have questions, and feel free to unmute yourself if you don't have a lot of background noise. Whenever we have conversations about diversity and inclusion, it's important for us to approach these conversations with respect, dignity, and from a place of curiosity, to come with an open mind, to listen fully to people's lived experiences as we all differ, but also to share our own lived experiences, whether we're an individual with a disability, an ally, or somebody that's just curious to learn more. Today we're coming together from different perspectives, and together we will learn and explore. We have created 4 experiences for you to highlight some aspects of life with a disability. We hope that you will participate fully in all 4 of these experiences. So get ready, get comfortable. And our very first one is one of my favorites, but you need something. So I'd love you to take a second and find a blindfold. Yes, you heard it right, a blindfold. Perhaps you have a towel, a scarf, something to cover your eyes. We'll give you a minute to grab that. And then also, Sean, I heard somebody sneak in.
Oh, we have had another person join us. And I'm actually going to take this moment here, Melanie, to ask everyone to rename themselves with their location, where they're zooming in from, just to help us understand where everyone's from. And the latest person to join us, I'm going to do my best. I apologize if I get this name wrong. This looks like Notukela? I believe Notukela?
Nutikala?
Nutekala, okay.
I don't know. I can't see the spelling. Is it Nutikala? Welcome, welcome. So glad you joined us. All right. Does everybody have their blindfold handy? I'm going to encourage you all, before you put them on, to unmute yourself, because I want to be able to hear you through this experience. Sean, how are we?
Actually,
I
we
have
should get everyone to
Put their camera on
their
too.
camera too.
Yes, so we can make sure
turn the
they're not
camera on.
cheating.
We have Arlene all set up with her blindfold. Raj is working diligently on his. Let's see,
Sean.
who else do we have here? Walter has his blindfold on.
Excellent. Now, don't panic if you don't have a blindfold handy. Sean, this looks like a pretty trusting group, don't they?
I think we can trust this group, yeah.
So if you don't have a blindfold handy, please close your eyes, immerse in this experience fully so that you can experience what it's like just a little bit for a little while a day through my eyes. Yes. Accessibility helps people with various disabilities have an even playing ground for opportunities to succeed and be just as they are with whatever accommodations they require. But when there's a lack of accessibility, it makes life tough. And many people with disabilities face this barrier on a regular basis. So for this experience, it's really quite simple. I would like you to type in the chat what accessibility means to you.
All right, we have more blindfolds going on right now. I'm watching the chat box here. I'm expecting a few four-letter words to come out from a few people, but
Yes,
I'll do my best here.
It also could be that maybe people are, how are you guys doing? You finding the chat box okay?
No.
No?
Oh, that was a very, very sad no.
How's everybody else? I heard somebody they know they can't find the chat box. Anybody lucky to find it there, Sean?
I believe we have a few people searching. Nothing has come into the chat yet.
I know I'm typing.
No, I thought I was already in the chat.
Well, do you think I should give him a hint there, Sean?
I think maybe we should give everyone a hint.
Okay, if you hit Alt-H, it'll open up your chat box.
How do I hit Alt-H with my blindfold on?
Don't you know the keyboard, Laura?
Not very well.
I think Laura and I went to the same high school. We didn't do the typing portion.
Or we paid the same attention.
Exactly.
So somebody just sneak in?
That was Glynis. Welcome, Glynis. Thank you for joining us.
Glynis, I'll just give you a little context. Everybody has their blindfold on, so don't worry if you don't have a blindfold handy. Just close your eyes and type in the chat what accessibility means to you.
Okay, thank you.
But make sure your camera's on so we can make sure you got your eyes closed. And somebody else just snuck in?
I believe that was Jennifer coming back in.
Okay, great.
I think there was a connection issue.
Aha. All right. So we've given you Alt-H to open up the chat. Sean, do we have anything in the chat box?
We do have a message from Raj. Free dome. Free dome.
Okay. I'm thinking he meant freedom.
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's great. And I understand this can be frustrating, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. When you're not able to participate fully, do you feel included?
Nope.
So it's interesting because without accessibility, people with disabilities don't necessarily feel included. They don't feel as they belong. So I always suggest using the best question, how can I best support you? And I know, Sean, if I ask most people, how can I best support you? You'd be like, I want to be able to see what I'm typing. So why don't we allow you to try for one more minute and then we'll let you take off your blindfold.
Well, we have Walter who had to orient himself to the computer first to find the keyboard visually to be able to get in there.
Aha. Yes, Walter, very good observation. It's very true. And we're welcoming everybody that came in. We're in an experience right now where people are blindfolded and they're trying to type in the chat what accessibility means to them.
I believe that was Laura who just got Rogers.
I know. I actually was trying to type something and I popped myself out of the actual system. Being blindfolded, it actually worked opposite. So
So yeah, pretty frustrating, wasn't it, Laura?
Yes, then I had to take it off so that I could come back in.
Okay, so I think we'll let everybody take your blindfold off, and I'd love for you to chat in the chat box or even just call out, how did that make you feel? And what is accessibility to you?
Oh, I think we need to hear from someone such as Nico. Nico, how was that experience for you?
It was horrific, terrible, because I was all of a sudden paralyzed. I couldn't do anything.
It's
Yeah.
true, right? It's kind of hard to believe that this is something that people like myself go through on a regular basis. So I attend so many meetings, like just throw your thoughts in the chat. I'm like, what do I do? I can't access the chat. And even when I do, I thank goodness, I know Sean and Laura, you alluded to it earlier, that high school, they taught me how to type with no letters on the keyboard. So thank goodness for that. But thank you, Nico, for sharing. Anybody else, how did that make you feel? And what does accessibility mean to you?
How about going to Glynis for a quick moment?
Hello, everybody. I just came in a little bit late and I have to rush out. I can't stay for the whole thing because I've got to go to work. But just for those few brief moments, I can't even begin to explain how grateful and appreciative I am of all that you do, Melanie, and people in this room as well that have, issues that with accessibility, and all the meetings that we conduct, especially over Zoom, and we don't really think about accessibility needs. So thank you so much. This exercise is powerful because it gave me an appreciation and a new understanding of things that we can sometimes take for granted.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Liz. Thank you for zooming in for a bit. We appreciate it.
And I think we really need to talk to Teresa on her comment here, Melanie.
Okay.
Teresa ended up dealing with, let's call it a digital age problem, where alt wasn't exactly where she thought it was, and ended up bringing up iTunes.
Well, hopefully the music choice was good, Teresa.
No,
But
no, I didn't even get music. But the other thing is, I'm on a Mac.
Oh,
right?
I'm so sorry. Yes, it would
So-
be Command H.
Okay, come in. That's right, come in. So I don't even know if I would have known that. Like,
And again,
putting it
having
together.
these resource of shortcut commands for the keyboard is something handy that you should always have when you're conducting meetings or any sort of online course. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, feel free to type in the chat what accessibility means to you. And I just wanted to say, as I mentioned, accessibility is vital, but there's no cookie cutter solution. Both Wayne and I are blind, but yet we use different accommodation needs. So you never can assume that if you're accommodating one person, you've covered everybody. The best line to ask everybody, whether they have a disability or not, is how can I best support you? And it will differ from person to person. So take the time, ask those questions, whether you have a disability or not. And the important thing to realize is accessibility, when you look at the definition of it, actually means the state of being able to enter or access something, a document, an entrance to a building. It has nothing to do with disability. So accessibility is for everybody. So please keep that in mind. Any other comments in the chat there, Sean, before we move on?
Oh, we had a couple of folks feel that accessibility means you have what you need to live at all times. And what else do we have here? It means an opportunity to decide if you want to do something. Nico, I like Nico's. It means connection.
Yes. Beautiful, guys. You all, thank you for collaborating with that because it's so important to hear people's perspectives. Sean, I'm going to pass it over to you for the second experience. I hope you can take off the blindfolds, get comfortable, shake it off. It can be a scary and overwhelming feeling for some. Wayne, don't forget to take off your blindfold.
I think I'll put one on.
I know, right? But thank goodness. But again, be thankful you can take that blindfold off for those that can. All right, Sean, I'll pass it back to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Melanie. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I get to lead you on a little experience. For someone who is neurodivergent, say a brain injury, someone like myself, they might endure. Now, before we go too far here, I must warn everyone there is a lot going on in the next segment. If you don't like sudden noises, moving camera shots, you get a little nausea, things like that, things of that nature, please look away or turn down your volume for 30 seconds when I say, here we go. Now, this segment is only 30 seconds long, but it provides insight into how our senses handle things. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to say something during the video playing, and I would like everyone to tell me what I have said when the video is over. That's right. Can you decipher my message? A quote that I personally enjoy from the background noise and clutter. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your warning. Here we go. Oh, hold on. We have no volume here. Impact of inclusion. And my message to you is this. It is in your hands to make a better world for all who live in it. Quote is from Nelson Mandela. Some very powerful words that still resonate to this day. And there's a lot going on here, ladies and gentlemen. So as you can see, when you go out the door, when you have a brain injury, life comes at you. It hits you like a wall. There is so much going on when you're trying to decipher these things. Now, please understand, ladies and gentlemen, we do not go off the path and try and get lost on purpose. But let me tell you, that path has a lot more twists and turns to it than what I remember, and a lot more opportunities to go, oh, shiny. So now let's see who heard the quote amongst the noise of the day. Please feel free to type in the chat if you are more comfortable with that instead of opening up your mic. But, ladies and gentlemen, did anyone catch what I said? Raj, did you hear the quote? Sorry, Raj, you're muted.
Sorry, Sean, probably I didn't pick up any of the code because my eyes was just watching on the visuals. So the visuals was in front of me and I was watching in that. So didn't got to hear. It was
Raj didn't get to hear. Walter found it difficult with all the ambient noise to pick out exactly what I was saying. Teresa missed the first part and then found it difficult to catch up to me. Mark, what did you notice?
I noticed it was a lot for me and it was very unsettling. I couldn't focus. I really had to close my eyes.
So a lot going on at any given time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is so easy to get lost if you're... Excuse me. It is so easy to get lost as an individual with a brain injury, autism, things of that nature. So, does anyone have any questions regarding that clip? What's gone on?
I have a question, Sean, if nobody else does. How can we best support people who are neurodivergent from to help them stay on track?
A lot of questions, a lot of, did you do this? Things of that nature. I mean, let's be honest, Melanie. More than once, I've walked into a room and you said, you're doing this today, right? No, that's tomorrow. Check your calendar. And Melanie's right. So, it's so very easy to just be looking on the wrong side of the page. And you're looking at tomorrow's schedule instead of today's.
And also, I think people probably noticed when they first attended this morning, we weren't playing music at the beginning like we would normally do in an event. And we did that on purpose, didn't we, Sean?
Oh, yes, we did that on purpose today.
So anybody else have questions for Sean or that experience? How did it make you feel?
Let's go to Nico.
I think it's important to allow other people to do things in a manner that suits them. Everybody does not do it the same. People that are blind, people that are deaf, people that are physically disabled in terms of mobility and so forth, they do things in different ways. And I think society must become comfortable to allow that, because often we expect people to behave in a certain way like me, and that is not what they necessarily able to.
Absolutely, Nico. Well said. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And I'd like to welcome Vincent Daniels, still connecting to audio, but Vincent has joined us.
Welcome, Vincent. Thank you so much for zooming in from South Africa. Right, Sean, what is I think we'll give everybody a minute to brush off that experience. Again, it can be impactful, overwhelming for some, but thank you, Sean, for sharing.
Teresa had a good comment here. It makes me realize that less unnecessary noise is optimal.
Not that we say you should be in silence all the time. That's not it. But you're right. Things that are distracting, we just have to be aware. And again,
a lot of smile and nod at restaurants.
Yes, it's so true.
All right, let's get into our next experience here, ladies and gentlemen. According to the United Nations, in developing countries, 80 to 90% of persons with disabilities of working age are unemployed or underemployed, whereas in industrialized countries, the figure is between 50 and 70%. Our next presenter, Wayne Tuttle, knows firsthand the many barriers people with disabilities face on a regular basis. Throughout Wayne's life, he has encountered many barriers to employment due to his blindness. Today, Wayne will be sharing his personal story and outline some of the myths and misunderstandings surrounding hiring a person with a disability. Wayne's professional career as a motivational speaker and workshop facilitator has spanned over 3 decades. He is a passionate advocate for the disabled and frequently facilitates disability awareness workshops to corporate, not-for-profit, and government agencies. Please help me welcome from Ontario, Canada, Wayne Tuttle.
Imagine for a moment, you just got off the telephone with a hiring manager and you've been invited in for an interview. You're excited. You just can't wait. The day arrives for that interview. You really want to nail this. So you dress up in your best suit. You're ready to go. But then suddenly you start self-doubting yourself. What if he doesn't accept my disability? But no, maybe he gets it. He understands people with disabilities. So you show up for the interview. You're in the waiting room with anticipation. Your heart starts to pound. Your palms are starting to get sweaty. Am I going to get this job? I really want it. I've been in management for decades, but lost my job due to downsizing. But now I have another opportunity to get into management. The door opens and the hiring manager comes out and looks at me. He invites me into the office. He closes the door and he asks me to sit down. I have a seat. And there was an awkward pause. He said, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, I can see that you're blind. Yes, I am. No, no, don't need to explain. Quite frankly, I don't even know how you would even do this job. Well, let me explain. No, 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 it's okay. You don't need to explain. I'll tell you what. I will offer you a job here. But first of all, I'd like to put you on the telephones for the first 6 months. And if I feel that you can do the job, then I'll move you up into management. What do you say? I politely stood up. I reached across the table to shake his hand. And I simply said, thank you, but no thank you. I turned and I left the interview. Have you ever experienced something like that? Or perhaps you know someone that's experienced something like that. When it comes to employment, there are all kinds of barriers that are out there. But breaking down the barriers to employment takes a lot of work because there's a lot of myths and misunderstandings when it comes to employment. So what I would like to do is share with you some of the myths and misunderstandings that people have in our society, no matter where you live in the world. So Sean, I wonder if you could call up the first myth. So it's simply a true or false. So when we see the question, if you'd like to type into the chat, whether you think the statement is true or false. So Sean, what do we have?
The first statement. The number one barrier to employment for people with disabilities is conscious and unconscious bias.
I wonder if that's a true statement. Why don't we put it in the chat? What do you think? Is that true? Or is it false?
We have at least one true so far. We have another true. Doesn't look like anyone wants to choose false on this one, I don't think, Wayne.
I think I kind of gave it away with my opening, perhaps.
We're getting a lot of trues here.
Okay. So why don't we see what the true answer is?
It is true.
Absolutely true. Isn't that a shame? It does happen all the time, whether it's conscious or unconscious. What do we have next, Sean, for a myth or a misunderstanding?
Employees with disabilities take more time off from work than non-disabled employees.
Food for thought. I wonder. So people with disabilities, they take more time off than people without disabilities?
We're getting a lot of people with false on this one, Wayne.
Okay. Are there any truths out there?
I haven't
do
seen
you
one
think
go
that's
by.
possible?
I think
What do
everyone
you
wants
think
false.
the answer is? Let's have a look. See,
that's a false one.
it's an absolute false statement. I think we have another one we can dispel there.
It costs an employer a lot of money to accommodate someone with a disability.
So I wonder if it can be expensive to hire someone with a disability. What do you think? Could you believe that that could be a true statement? Or perhaps it might be a false statement?
We're getting a lot of false so far. I'm going to say this is a false one, Wayne.
All right, let's have a look-see.
We have a false.
We have a false. That's absolutely false. What do you think we have up next, Sean?
Lack of education limits the types of jobs a person with disabilities can apply for.
Lack of education. Well, it could be true, but it could be false too. But what do you think?
We have a no so far. We have a false. So people are calling this one a negative, a false. We got it depends on the job and a couple of trues as well. So we've actually split
Okay.
the room on this one, Wayne.
So it's kind of unbalanced here. Let's reveal what it is.
That is true.
Is that surprising? It's
I think
absolutely true.
I think we surprised a few people here, Wayne.
Yeah. Okay, what do we have up next?
The application process may not be accessible for people with vision impairment or mobility challenges.
So perhaps filling out some forms or an application, or even finding where the office is. So what do you think? Could that be a true statement or a false statement?
We are getting a number of trues here.
Well, let's have a look-see and see if that is true.
That is true.
Absolutely. That could be a ding, 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 ding. I think we have another one.
People with disabilities are more loyal and dedicated to their employer than someone without a disability.
Loyalty to employers. I don't know whether that means just for people with disabilities or everybody, but what do you think? People with disabilities are more loyal to their employers. What are your thoughts?
We're
True or
getting
false?
some trues. We have at least one depends.
I'd like to question that depends. Can you clarify the individual who put down depends?
So why, Teresa, why would it be any more difficult if they're in, just because they have a vision impairment or they have a problem? Like, I mean, people, it's more getting along with people and doing your job, I believe. And probably, you know, if you're being judged on, well, you can't do this job,
right?
That would be a hard go, I think.
All right. Before I answer that, let's see what the answer is, and then I will explain.
We have a true.
We have a true. Absolutely. People with disabilities are more loyal to their company that they've been hired by. Statistics have proven that the reason why that is because people with disabilities do not want to go through the process of the interview, searching for a job, getting turned down because of their disability. So they're more apt to stay in a job longer than people without disabilities. I believe that's all the myths and misunderstandings that we have at this moment. But one thing I'd like to share with you is no matter where you are in the world, we all have the ability and the capacity to build the physical ramps so that people in wheelchairs or people with mobility issues have an opportunity to participate. But what we really need to do is build the ramps to the mind so that everyone has an equal opportunity and to feel included, especially when it comes to employment. But you know something? We can do this. And together, we can make a difference. Back to you, Sean.
Thank you very much, Wayne. There is a lot of great information there. Next up, we have Mark Brown, alumni of the Connect for Life broadcast training program, chairman of the Connect for Life board, 2 years as a Toastmaster, and a father of 2. With a little help from Arlene, Mark has a little something for you about the possibilities with inclusion. Mark and Arlene?
Thank you, Sean. Hello, I'm a quadriplegic, and I want you to know there are great possibilities by embracing diversity, equality, and inclusion. Let us show you how impactful it can be for your organization to include a person or persons with a disability. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Arlene. Take it away.
Thank you, Mark. And again, thank you everyone who is attending and welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about celebrities that we may know of or have heard of, and to find out they have a disability. So let's get started. Our first gentleman here, we all know of him, have seen him, is Elon Musk. And we know he's an entrepreneur, but did you know he has a disability? And put it in the chat, please, or unmic yourself and just say, what do you think his disability is?
We're not getting much in the chat so
I
far.
think everyone is stunned. Okay, we have, he is neurodivergent. Anybody else? Autistic. Mhm. Okay, so I will inform everybody about his disability. He has Asperger's, which is a form on a spectrum on the autism disorder. However, his ability is worldwide. Everyone has either maybe a Twitter account, people are driving Teslas, and of course, he has SpaceX. So you can see his ability, this disability did not stop his ability. Our next presenter is Muhammad Ali. We know him as a famous world champion boxer. Do we know what his disability was?
Alzheimer's?
Alzheimer's. Okay, thank you, Wayne.
Dyslexia?
Dyslexia from Mark, thank you. Okay, I am going to inform everybody. He did have dyslexia. And dyslexia is just a general term for disorders that involves a difficulty in learning. So interpreting words, letters, and other symbols. However, we know his abilities are out of this world. So he was a humanitarian, an actor, and a philanthropist. Our next presenter, Stephen Hawking, is a famous English theoretical physicist. And we may already know his disability, but again, please raise your hand, say it, unmic yourself, or put it in the chat. Okay. He had MS around, yes. So he had actually ALS, which is a primary neurological disease that affects your primary nerves. So it's involuntary, so chewing, talking, and walking. However, his abilities, scientist, he talked about black holes and wormholes, and a published author. Our next presenter, Stevie Wonder. He's a famous musician. And write in the chat, or again, say it out loud, what his disability was. Correct, Teresa, visually impaired. But does anybody remember the songs that he produced?
I just called to say I love you.
Well, Melanie, you all right. And I thought you were actually telling me that you love me, but that's
Always, always.
okay. And some other hits
And
were,
the happy birthday song.
yes. Anybody else?
The happy birthday song?
Happy birthday song, yes.
And how about Superstition Leads the Way? I am not a singer, so my tone was not that great there, but at least I tried, right? And the other one, You Are the Sunshine of My Life. These are just some of the greatest hits that I believe that he did, but of course there is much more. Our next presenter is Dr. Maya Angelou. She was a famous civil rights activist and a famous poet. And you might not have known this, that she did have a disability. And please, again, write in the chats. I think I might have stumped everybody on this one.
Dyslexia?
Oh, it's not dyslexia. However, it's not Parkinson's as well. Okay, so if we can pull up the answer, she had selective mutism, which just meant that when she was young when she was young, she selectively decided not to speak, and it was due to an anxiety disorder. However, Dr. Maya Angelou received numerous awards from the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2011 and over 50 honorary degrees. Her ability, I don't even know, I don't have words for her, what she accomplished, even though she did have a disability in her earlier years. Our next presenter is from South Africa. Her name is Natalie du Toit, and hopefully I pronounced her last name correct. She's a South African swimmer. So we might not, our Canadian fellow peers might not know of her, but our hopefully South African peers have heard of her. And her disability occurred, she had an amputation under her knee, okay? However, she is a gold medalist, something that I have not achieved in my life, only in my dreams. And she got a gold medalist in the Paralympic Games and one of the few swimmers to actually compete in the Summer Olympic Games. And our last presenter here is Black Coffee. He is also from South Africa, and that's his DJ name. His official name is Mr. Mapula, and hopefully I did pronounce that right. So if anybody in the chat can pronounce that for me, that would be greatly appreciated as well. He has his disability. What do we think it is? This might be more for my Canadian peers here.
Hearing impairment?
Hearing impairment, that's okay, that's a suggestion. Anybody else? An acquired disability, okay. All right, so again, I will let you know. He lost his left arm during a car accident, a physical impairment. That's right, thank you. However, that has not stopped him from doing his turntables. Wicka, 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 wick. That's the best I could do. His turntables, and he's worldwide famous. He's won numerous Grammy Awards, BET Awards, South African Music Awards, and like I mentioned, is worldwide famous. So all of the presenters I just mentioned to everybody here, they have a disability or had a disability. However, in the face of society, they broke those barriers. They overcame their disability and they have achieved accolades that I know myself have not even achieved. So the possibilities are endless, especially when you have a good support team like Melanie behind you. I'll bring it back to you, Sean.
Thank you very much for sharing those stories. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a short 5-minute break. Please take the time to stretch a bit, refresh yourself, and we will be back at, that will be 8:59. Let's go with 9 o'clock. We'll be back at 9 a.m., ladies and gentlemen. And Arlene, you have something for the folks over the break?
Yes, so before we do go, I'm going to put a Google Doc link into the chat. Please fill that out because you will get a chance to win a prize that Melanie will speak about later on in the presentation. And that Google Doc will be inserted as of right now.
Also,
Thank
don't
you.
forget the YouTube channel.
And that's why Melanie's here to cover anything that I forgot. Please subscribe to Melanie's YouTube channel, and I will also be inserting GainingVision social media platforms and along with her email address. So if you ever want to connect with Melanie or again, see what she's up to, you could take a look. Okay, and the files will be uploaded shortly.
Back at 9 a.m., ladies and gentlemen. I should say that's Ontario time, I guess. I hope everyone feels a little bit more refreshed now. And next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have a connector, an active listener, a visionary, a spirit-led communicator, a facilitator, and a certified spiritual life coach. In 2020, Gerda Felix discovered one of her passions and brought her focus to creating and organizing events. Please help me welcome our active listening coach, Gerda Felix.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sean. And welcome, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here with you. Welcome to Gaining Vision, exploring the possibilities with inclusion, the panel. You have seen them before throughout this time that we've been together. And now it is my pleasure to interview our participants to the panel. First, I will call on Sean Picard. And this is what I would like to tell you about Sean. The first time I came into contact with Sean, he had recorded my introduction. And when people heard it, everyone was, wow, can we have this person to work with us? And my answer was, well, it will cost you because he does great work. Please help me welcome Sean Picard. And our second participant is Mark Brown. When I saw Mark the first time, it was something that Melanie was preparing, organizing. And I remember seeing him right in front of me because we were on Zoom. And I thought, wow, what a presence. And hearing his story was very, for me, it allowed me not only to know a bit about him, but also to understand what he was going through. Please help me welcome Mark Brown.
Thank you.
And now, our last but not least participant to the panel is Melanie Taddeo. When I came into contact with Melanie, and that's been about since 2 years ago, I think. Well, I tell you from that time, Melanie and I, we've worked together. It's always been a pleasure. If there were 2 words that I can describe about Melanie, is vision and drive. No one, I will tell you that, no one has as much drive as Melanie. Please help me welcome Melanie Taddeo. And welcome everyone to Gaining Vision, exploring the possibilities with inclusion. 2 words I want you to keep in mind. vision, and inclusion. Vision, because vision is big. Without a vision, as you know, as you probably heard before, without a vision, we perish. And that's why I want to bring your mind to it. And inclusion, well, it is the way we are moving forward into this world and why it is important. Now that we have all participants with us, I have questions that will help us to understand them a little bit better. And I will start with Melanie. Melanie, tell us your story by giving us a snapshot, meaning a snapshot of before and after.
I was a vibrant art student studying visual art, a little eccentric. After acquiring my disability, I'm still a passionate individual, maybe not an artist anymore in the physical artwork, but in my visions. I feel you can be artistic and creative in many different formats, but that passion and determination to help make a difference remains the same.
Thank you, Melanie. And now, Sean, to you. A snapshot.
The snapshot? Let me
Mhm.
see here. I was a very dynamic individual, very active, constantly on the go. And it was one of those scenarios where, looking back at where I was at my best, where I was at my high point, I'll never get back there. And I know that. But I can get close. And that's what I'm fighting for, is to be a little more dynamic, get more things done, and just keep going, really. Keep going. It was strange for me, but I'm sure I'll get the opportunity to get into more of that later.
Thank you, Sean. And now, Mark, tell us your story by giving us a snapshot of before and then now.
Before, I was ambitious, I was driven, I was hungry. And up until my accident, I didn't have a barrier in front of me. But after, I learned how to live differently. But I was still ambitious, I was still hungry, and very much confident, even more so now as a person with a disability versus when I was able-bodied. So I'm a lot more confident and able to take on new challenges and looking forward to every moment of it all.
Thank you, Mark. Now, to Sean, what is inclusion to you?
Inclusion is everyone having an opportunity to have their say. Everyone gets a seat at the table. Everyone is treated the same. Everyone is, no, I don't want to say everyone is treated equally. Everyone is treated with the same level of respect to be successful.
Thank you. I have a following question for you, simply just before I move on. I would like to know, for you, yourself, what makes you feel included? How would I have to be myself for me to make you feel included? We're getting personal.
We are, but it's different for everybody, right?
Yes.
So getting a couple different points of view, it helps people understand a little better. And what helps me feel included is phone calls, is appointments, it's doing things and having the person or people that will listen to what your goal is and then give you a check-in every now and then. Did you do this? Did you do that? What do you need to do to get to the point where you want to be? And are you taking the steps to get there? That's, to me, that's what the inclusion is. Because for me, it's so easy to just tune out. So having that person who taps you on the shoulder, hey, remember you were doing this? It helps.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Mark, now it's your turn. What is inclusion to you? And how do I need to be in order for you to feel included in my presence?
Acknowledge me. Let me feel the way that I want to be felt. Let me feel that I'm engaged with your conversation, with your presence. I want to be noticed and not left off to the side. As a person with a mobility disability, I find that sometimes people don't know how to approach me. And from the time that I got my injury, I lost a lot of friends or acquaintances through my employment. And that really opened up my eyes. And I gained a lot more experience and knowledge in 2015, September 8th to be exact, when I met Melanie at an interview for the broadcast training course. And that definitely opened up my eye and my world to a whole new experience. Up until then, I was not around people with a disability. It wasn't a choice, it was just something that happened. And realistically, being around Melanie, I don't see or feel her impairment. She does so much, and it makes me want to do that much more. I mean, that inspires me. So definitely, I want to always be around that. And I've learned so much from her and other people like Sean who have disability, and people I've met with cerebral palsy and invisible disability. And there's so much more for people to learn. And I want to be a part of Melanie's journey and let them know what we are capable of.
Thank you, Mark. Mark, did you read my questions? I will be coming to that a little bit later. Thank you, Mark. And now, Melanie, what is inclusion to you? And how do I need to be in order for you to feel included?
Thank you, Gerda. So for me, inclusion is where every person feels heard, seen, and valued just as they are, despite their background, culture, race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, or ability. It's like having a seat at the table or an invitation to the party, and everybody's comments, thoughts, and beliefs are welcome. We're heard, seen, and valued just as we are. We don't have to change it. For me, to feel included is to be accepted just as I am.
Thank you, Melanie. You know, when we talk about inclusion, from what I've just heard, we, all of us, need to know the other person, because we are not able to include anybody if we do not know the other person. So that's the point. And that's the way we can connect. Because if I don't know anything about your life, how will I be able to connect with you on a deeper level? Now, because Mark has gone before me, I will now ask this question. I'll start with Sean. Sean, what have you learned and benefited from working with Melanie?
That's a great question, Gerda. What have I learned? I've learned a lot about myself, learning what the little, I don't want to say triggers are, but noticing little things where it's like, okay, no, this isn't happening, back off. You know, don't do anything you don't want to do here. I've learned a lot about myself working with Melanie. I've also learned that I can't stop. Right? She started me down this path, helping me discover something that has basically lain in me since high school and haven't played with at all. And she helped me rediscover and find a focus to help keep growing my boundaries, keep expanding my mind, and keep going with things. An opportunity to meet other people and connect with them in a way where what I'm doing helps them grow and it helps me grow at the same time. So I've learned a lot about me, and I've learned a lot about how to work moving forward.
Thank you, Sean. And now back to you, Mark. You have said many things before. So now it is your opportunity to expand on what you've said before. And the question is, working with Melanie, what have you learned and what have you benefited from?
What I've learned is to be an advocate for myself and for other individuals. When I started my broadcasting course, I had another student who wasn't very confident in herself, and she wasn't visible to her family. And we were from two separate backgrounds and culture. However, through my charismatic ways, we became friends, and from conversations, I encouraged her to speak up for herself. I encouraged her to let her voice be known and to just challenge herself. And that I learned from Melanie, and I passed it on to that other student. And I mean, she's doing great herself. And Melanie has encouraged me to do so many things because she saw things in me that I didn't recognize. I joined Toastmaster, and 2.5 years strong, I enjoy it. I must say, I find that I have a skill of talking off the cuff, and I enjoy it because it's a great way for me to be creative and to let myself, share my experience with other people. So, as I said before, this journey that I'm on with Melanie, my self-discovery and meeting such great, wonderful people that I would never have met, like yourself, this placement students, it's a whole different world for me now. And as I said, I take on many challenges. Right now, I'm a facilitator for our wellness program. It's something that I really enjoy. And it gives me even great pleasure that the students enjoy it and compliment me and the placement students. The fact that they have a place to go once a week and share and voice and learn. So, I mean, this opportunity that I have, I look forward to it and continue to expand my horizon and just hopefully go to South Africa with Melanie and gain my vision.
We all want to do that.
Right?
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. And now the question is for you, Melanie.
Okay.
I know that I've asked the other participants what they have learned from working with you. Now I want to know, what have you learned about yourself in working with others and leading them on that journey of inclusion and especially vision?
Garrett, I love this question. So for me, my journey has shown me that we all are unique creatures. We all have different talents and abilities, and we just need that little bit of encouragement to pull them out of us and set us on the track to bring our visions to life. And working with Mark and Sean and all of my other clients and my team here at Gaining Vision has demonstrated this over and over again. I don't have the skill sets to do social media. I don't have the skill sets to do certain things, but I do have team members that excel at this stuff. So recognizing our strengths, our areas for growth, and then of course, tapping on people to help support us. But the one thing I have learned the most, whether it's at Toastmasters, Connect for Life, or in life in general, advocating for ourselves and for others helps create awareness, but also by bringing to the forefront the barriers and challenges people with disabilities face on a regular basis. Gets the conversation started about inclusion and what's possible.
Thank you, Melanie. And you mentioned something that I want to dive a little bit deeper into: barriers. What barriers have you encountered and continue to encounter?
Very good question. I think the biggest one, Wayne touched upon it a little bit in his presentation, the myths and misconception and the judgment, the biases people have of people with disabilities, and it's across the globe. They see us as less than instead of our abilities and what we're capable of. So we have to change the narrative. That would be the biggest one. The other one, of course, as we know, many people with disabilities are underemployed or unemployed, and they too need to survive and thrive. So having employers really recognize the benefits and values of hiring people with disabilities so that they too can participate fully to what they want to achieve in life.
Thank you, Melanie. And now, Sean, what is or what are the barriers that you have encountered or continue to encounter?
I'm going to talk about two sides of the same coin here, Gerda. Quite often, all of us, not just individuals with disabilities, but quite often, we have self-imposed restrictions. I'm not good enough to do that. I can't do this, or things of that nature. And a lot of individuals with disabilities, they don't have someone that will help guide them through the process. So there's a lot of, I can't do that, or I don't know what's going on here. I need someone else for that. And a lot of that does get bred into us, or taught to us, I guess I should say. Going along with the comments that Melanie was making earlier, that we're not seen as our abilities, we're seen as less than someone else's abilities. So when you bring in someone else putting bias and restrictions on you, and then we also have our own restrictions that we place on ourselves at the same time, it really comes down to mentally where we are as people as being the biggest block that I see. A lot of folks, they don't think they can do these things when, why don't you sit down and try it? You'll be surprised.
Yes, I hear what you said. Thank you. Thank you. And now, Mark, what are the barriers that you have either encountered and continue to encounter?
One barrier that I've encountered is our city. Even though we are quote unquote a world-class city, we're not as accessible as they claim. I honestly can't go outside my home on the sidewalk by myself because it's not even, it's not balanced. It's something where I can physically hurt myself. I can't even cross the street to get to the other side. And that is a scary thing in this particular day and age. I know they're trying, and they made mention it the other day of, I think it was last week, Mayor Forward. But and I know we'll get there with everything that we are here doing today and what will continue to happen, the changes will take effect. And I think GainingVision is definitely on the right path. And even though we're crossing borders, and these borders will all be joined together in an accessible manner, because right now there are so many people with disabilities, physical or invisible, that can't leave their home. And that's a shame because of all the various things, the sensors, the sensories, the unleveled roads, you know, elevators and doorways that are not, you know, that don't speak to you, that don't let you know where you are. So being here today and just seeing things and experiencing things, I want to be a part of those changes. I want this to be a place where we are a world class in accessibility, where people can just go out and feel included. And I hope that we can get to that a lot sooner than later.
Well said. Thank you. Now, I am going to say one word. And I want you, each and every one of you, as I call on you, to give me, it's a word association. So I will give you one word, and then you have to tell me what comes to mind when you hear that word. I will start with Sean. And the word is dignity.
Dignity. Pride.
Thank you. Mark, dignity.
Mark, you're muted.
To feel, quote unquote, normal, accepted.
Thank you. Melanie, dignity.
Respect.
Thank you. I have so many more questions, but I do not want to, you know, I want to honor your commitment with us today. It has been a pleasure to interview each and every one of you. I thank you, Mark. I thank you, Sean. I thank you, Melanie. And to our audience, I want you to keep in mind vision and inclusion. A lot of disabilities are invisible. Your reaction to it isn't. And the other thing I want to leave you with, disability does not mean inability. It has been my pleasure to be with you, spending this time, and wishing you all a wonderful rest of your day. And now, back to Sean.
Thanks, Gerda.
Thank you so much, Gerda, for leading us through that panel. And Mark and Melanie, isn't it refreshing to answer the questions instead of being the one asking them?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And next we'll be hearing from Melanie about GainingVision 2020, how the organization can help you reach your goals, what are some of the situations we can help you with. Answering those questions and more about GainingVision 2020, Melanie Taddeo-Nxumalo.
Thank you so much, Sean. And it's a nice segue from Gerda's conversation. Inclusion means many different things. And a lot of times when we have the conversation about diversity and inclusion, we think of everything but accessibility and disability lens. So GainingVision has been an idea, a vision in my mind for years now. And bringing it to fruition has been a journey, an exciting one. Think of this. There's 1 billion people with disabilities across the globe. And they all have support systems, networks of people that they live with. And doesn't it make good business sense to have an inclusive workplace? What I mean by that is that billion people has all extra people that surround them, and they have $500 billion worth of spending power. So yes, let's face it, employers, they always like to look at the bottom line. How will this impact them? Well, this is a whole new market that many employers, companies, organizations, and schools have not tapped into. because they were unaware about the importance of inclusion. It has been proven that somebody that has a loved one with a disability is more likely to spend their money with a business that embraces inclusion. That could be having an accessible website, having a ramp to enter the store, or hiring somebody with a disability. So doesn't it make sense to automatically have an inclusive workplace? But you may ask, what's in it for me other than the bottom line? Well, it's been proven that inclusive workplaces that include individuals with disabilities have more productive. They have great problem-solving abilities. They also have innovative ideas and solutions that bring to the table that other companies don't. They also have this pool of talent of individuals with disabilities that have not been tapped on. So overall, across the globe, it just makes sense, common sense, but also business sense to hire individuals with disabilities as part of your team. It will create a culture of inclusion from a disability and accessibility lens. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, and it takes time to understand the process, and that's where GainingVision comes in. GainingVision is here to help create a tailor-made opportunity, a strategy for your company, school, or organization to help become more inclusive. From creating policies and standards for accessibility, diversity, and inclusion, as well as putting together plans and helping you follow through by having an accessible and inclusive recruitment strategy to help hire people with disabilities. GainingVision also will provide expertise, training, workshops in person and virtually, webinars to help your management, employees, and anyone you hire with a disability understand what it takes to be an inclusive workplace. Think about your workplace. Is it inclusive? Do you feel like you have a sense of belonging? Are there people with disabilities on your staff? Are there people that are different than you, that bring different ideas? The one thing in Canada that we have in the Accessible Canada Act and Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act standards, there's laws as well across the globe. The United Nations Geneva Convention has a Charter of Rights for persons with disabilities. So it's becoming the law. But it's not easy if you're not sure how to navigate these waters that are a little bit uncharted. But GainingVision's here to help you because we have a philosophy, nothing about us without us. So what does that mean? We have a group of individuals with disabilities on our team with diverse backgrounds and skill sets that will help you implement your strategy by giving feedback from a disability perspective to help you make the right choices and help implement the steps one-on-one together to ensure that your workplace is more inclusive. It makes sense and will help your bottom line. So how do we get involved with GainingVision? Well, it's easy. There's a lot of great ways. As Arlene suggested, fill in the contact form. Definitely follow us on social media. Reach out and connect with me. I'd love to have a conversation about your company, organization, and school and how I can help you make your workplace a little bit more inclusive. I also want to learn from your experiences. Across the globe, we have many similarities and many similarities of barriers, but then we have unique situations that may differ. So we need to have that conversation from an open mind and opportunity to share each other's lived experiences. Connecting with me is a great first step. Following us. As I mentioned before, I'm traveling to South Africa in January, and I want to take you along, but unfortunately, the list of people wanting to fit in my suitcase is far too big. But if you follow me on YouTube, then you can come along for the journey. I will be documenting it on my YouTube channel, meeting people in South Africa and hearing their lived experiences so that we can learn from them as well. But it's not just South Africa. We'll be traveling the world to learn more with GainingVision. In the new year, we'll be having focus groups that you can zoom into virtually. We'll have workshops and opportunities for you to have your say. There are plenty of opportunities for you to connect and get involved. But it all starts with you. So take a minute, fill in that form in the chat, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel for your chance to win half an hour consultation with me on how to make your company more inclusive, as well as opportunity for anybody who subscribes to my YouTube channel to win a copy of my book, whether printed, ebook, or audiobook version. Whatever format suits your needs, you have that opportunity. But take a minute or two to do that right now. Arlene, make sure it's in the chat again, please, just in case somebody joined after.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to open the floor now, before I close off, for questions and answers. Sean, do we have any questions in the chat?
No questions in the chat currently, but I am keeping an eye on it.
Anybody wants to pipe up with a question? I'd love to hear it.
We have a question. How long does the process take?
The process, oh, that's a very good question. So obviously we'll start with the consultation. Every situation is unique. So we'll have to find out what the goals for the organization or company are. And it can take as simple as putting a plan together and ensuring they have the right people to put it in place, or it could take a longer time depending on the culture of the company. But I am there every step of the way, no matter how long it takes.
Nico has a question.
Yes, Nico.
Yeah, I think maybe a comment as well. People with disabilities can't pick themselves. They need to be included by the rest of society. So the question is, how do we get this message of inclusion to other people without disabilities, so that they are not scared about or to include persons with disabilities?
I love this question, and thank you for asking it, Nico. And you're right. So as individuals with disabilities, we need to be sharing our stories and what's possible with inclusion. We need to be part of getting involved with our communities and showing people what we're capable of. And that isn't always easy. It's a matter of really sharing the conversation and highlighting what we are doing. Gaining Vision is hopefully going to be very involved in many community organizations, from government to local levels, and working with people with disabilities, because they're the experts in the lived experience. They're the ones that need to be in the forefront. So that is the goal. And we have lots of opportunities for people across the globe with disabilities to join Gaining Vision. So please help them connect with me. I hope I answered your question.
And I think we should encourage persons with disabilities to speak out, and so that the rest of society realize that, listen, 15% of our society is persons with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay to create a society where they are unintentionally excluded, often with the rules or the facilities that we create.
Absolutely, you're right. And as the population ages, that number is only going to increase. We have to make accessibility and inclusion at the forefront instead of an afterthought. So it's changing the narrative. And Nico, I think working collaboratively, we can definitely make that happen. And thank you so much for sharing. And I would love to connect with you to learn more about your experiences, as well as anybody else on the call. Any other questions there, Sean?
No other questions in the chat currently.
Okay, so I'm just going to jump in and say a few words just to finish off, and then it'll be about that time, Sean. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everybody for joining me today. Don't go away just yet. We're almost at the important moment, milestone moment, but please connect with me. Stay in touch. To my team, thank you for everything you did to make today possible. Gaining Vision, again, was an idea, but with hard work and determination, I proved to myself and to others that anything is possible when you put your mind to it. Nelson Mandela once said, nothing seems possible until it's done. Think about that. You know, we always tell ourselves, as what Mark and Sean mentioned, it's too hard, it's not possible, but I'm here to tell you that nothing is impossible. In fact, Audrey Hepburn said, I'm possible. Is in the world impossible? So impossibility is a non-word in my language, because the possibilities with inclusion and for all of us are endless. So join Gaining Vision on this journey of making inclusion a reality in our world. Now, Sean, it's about that time. What's up now?
Oh, it's about that time where we're going to actually have Arlene do a little screen share for us here, because it's, well, it's really quite an important time here, ladies and gentlemen. I should have brought some champagne with me, is what I should have done, because this is effectively the grand opening of Gaining Vision. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish we actually could cut a ribbon for everyone, but we only have the virtual sign. So it is actually the opening, the beginning of Gaining Vision 2020. Congratulations, Melanie, and thank you very much for doing what you're doing.
Do we got the ribbon up?
The ribbon is up.
Okay, let's cut it. Yay! Thank you everyone for joining me. Please stay connected, reach out. I want to talk to each and every one of you. If you are in South Africa, let me know how I can connect. I'd love to meet you in person. But if you're not, if you're here in Canada, please stay in touch and let's work together to become a more inclusive society. Wishing everybody a wonderful day or evening. Thanks again for joining.
Thank you so much, Melanie. That was really great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Raj.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you all.
Bye. Have a good one.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thanks, Nico. Let's
Have a
stay in
nice
touch,
day.
please.
Yeah.
And we have Ingrid here. Nope, Ingrid is gone. It is now everyone in the organization.